Very good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Sajal Mishra, student of DME Media School, welcome you to the Vibrant India series, episode 56. I also welcome all the viewers who are watching us live on Facebook. Vibrant India series is an initiative of DME Media School for celebrating 75 years of India's independence. This series will be year-long exercise. As part of this series, we invite inspiring personalities for online talk, interview, and interaction with our students. The invited personalities for this series are from all walks of life and from all parts of the country. And today, our special guest is Mr. Sunit Tandon, theatre and film actor, news presenter, director of India Habitat Center, former DG at IIMC, former CEO of Lok Sabha team. I would like to take a moment and introduce Delhi Metropolitan Education to our viewers. Delhi Metropolitan Education DME is an A-grade premier educational institute affiliated to Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, New Delhi, and approved by Bar Council of India. The institute offers BBA, BLLB, BBLLB, and BJMC programs. TME believes in empowering world-class education to its students and training them to develop and enhance their skills. This education and training enables them in taking up challenges of the industry and creating a space for themselves with their competence and vigor. TME Media School is one of the most promising media institutes in the country. It offers BA in journalism and mass communication. It is recognized as the school focused on the growth of its faculty and students through academic and co-curricular activities. Major flagship events and initiatives of the school include VJ Varghese Lecture Series, Peer-to-Peer FGP, International Film Festival SIFI, International Conference ICANN, and Ritika Convention of Media Students. And newly added to the list is VIS. It is our privilege to introduce you to the personality of the episode 56 of the VIS. Guest of the day is multifaceted personality, a persona so dignified which needs no introduction. Mr. Sunit Tandon is director of the India Habitat Center, the multi-purpose facility for synergetic relationship between individual and institutions. He is also the president of the Delhi Music Society, Delhi's oldest society devoted to the promotion of Western classical music. Mr. Tandon has held the post of DG of Indian Institute of Mass Communication for 6 years. He has also given a new direction to public service broadcasting as Chief Executive Officer of Lok Sabha TV for many years. Mr. Sunit Tandon has promoted meaningful cinema as General Manager of National Film Development Corporation Limited for 4 years. He has also been the Festival Director of International Film Festival of India, IFFI. Mr. Tandon has been a news TV anchor on Doordarshan right from the early years of television in India. He's also been a radio broadcaster and music critic. He's also a theatre director and actor with approximately 150 production to his credit. Mr. Sunit Tandon is director of Yatrik, the capital's oldest theatre group. Mr. Tandon is a film actor, director, and film enthusiast. He has also performed in major role of Dil Bechara, the last film of Sushant Singh Rajput. Now let us have a glimpse of inspiring life of Sunit Tandon. so much, sir, for joining us today. It is indeed an honor to host you. I now request Dr. Susmita Wala, Head DME Media School, to welcome the guest.
Thank you, Sajal. Welcome everybody in episode 56 of Vibrant India series. We launched this digital program in 2021 on August 9 on the anniversary of Quit India movement. And we presented episode 50 of this program this year on August 15 when India celebrated 76 years Independence Day. Vibrant India series is an initiative of DMA Media School, Delhi Metropolitan Education. It is an online series to get inspiration from distinguished personalities. This program has been conceptualized and created by Professor Ambrish Saxena. Vibrant India series is a tribute to all those people who have made supreme sacrifices for the independence of our motherland. This program is a part of Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav, a celebration on India completing 75 years of independence. Let us have a look at the eminent personality who have graced the VIS during the last 1 year. 8 personalities from the Defense Forces have participated in VIS till date. These personalities belong to the Indian Army, Air Force, and BSF. These include Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, Lieutenant General Vinod Bhatia, Dr. P.K. Saxena, Professor R.K. Dargan, Captain Dharmveer Singh, Group Captain Ashok Kechordia, and Mr. Viren Kumar Gaur from BSF. This includes a woman as well, Squadron Leader Prerna Chaturvedi. 5 personalities from the education sector comprising education planning, teaching and research have participated in VIS. 4 personalities from the journalism, broadcasting and entertainment sector have joined the VIS. 2 senior journalists, Mr. Rajesh Badal and Mr. Shambhu Nath Shukla, have graced this program, while Mr. Sanjay Banerjee belongs to the broadcasting industry as a commentator. Dr. Ashish Kulkarni represents the entertainment and animation industry. From the social sector, 9 personalities, including 8 women, have participated in VIS. A medical doctor, an educationalist, an entrepreneur, a social activist, an environmental activist, a known oncologist. Also, Padma Shri Jitendra Singh Shanti participated in VIS. 7 personalities belong to art, theatre, literature. These include Dr. Sachidanand Joshi, Mr. Arvind Gaur, Mr. Lakshmi Shankar Bajpayee, Mr. Aditya Arya, Ms. Kajal Suri, Mr. Rajesh Kumar Singh, Mr. Shubham Kumar, Mr. Joyadeep Mukherjee. 2 personalities from the field of law and human rights have graced this VIS. 15 women have participated in 54 episodes of VIS. I have already mentioned about 8 women working in health and social sector, 1 in the Air Force and 1 in human rights and 1 in theatre. I also want to make mention of Miss Indrani Singh, a pilot, Ms. Pallavi Fauzdar, an adventure motorcyclist, Ms. Sachi Soni, a mountaineer, Ms. Saloni Sacheti, an entrepreneur, Ms. Vandana Mahajan, who is cancer survivor and a cancer coach. 3 police officers have also participated in VIS. 3 senior IAS officers have also graced the VIS. And from the other fields, Mr. S.P. Rawal, author Mr. Augustine Vallet, Sufi Sayyid Azmal Nizami, Mr. Balindu Sharma Dadiji, Mr. Satish Saxena have also participated in VIS. Today in episode 56, we have with us an amazing personality, Mr. Sunit Tandon, a versatile personality with different fields. So welcome Sunitji in episode 56 of Vibrant India series and welcome to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for listing out the galaxy of experts we have hosted till now in VIS. I now request Dr. Amrit Saxena, Dean DME Media School, and originator and ideator of VIS, to take the program forward.
Thank you, Sajal. So obviously, it is a matter of honor for all of us that Sunit Tandon ji is with us in this program. And when this program was conceived by me, the whole idea was to bring such people to the fore who could really inspire. I mean, simply you look at the personality of the person and the work, the body of work, then you yourself get inspired. There's nothing to be told, nothing to be said. And then I decided to bring to such people who belong to different walks of life, because when we talk about India as a nation, and when we talk about whatever contribution somebody is making, we have to acknowledge the fact that this contribution cannot be confined to a specific field. Whichever position we all are working, if we are honest, we are working with commitment, then definitely whatever we are doing, that is helping not only us in our growth, but in the society and the country also. So Suniji is one such a person who has contributed in varied fields. Though I mean everything comes origins is originated from one basic thing, that's the creative instinct that he has. So whatever work he is doing, right from education to acting to theater to cinema, that creative instinct is always there. And if we look into the actual personality of his, he is among the pioneers of Indian television in India, and each one of us have grown listening to him every evening on Doordarshan. At least people of my age have been that kind of experience. Obviously, now the time has changed, and the younger generation may not be that much well versed the kind of person he is and the kind of contribution that he has made to Indian media in media education and films and entertainment sector. So Suniji, I really welcome you from the core of my heart, and you are, I mean, so much considerate that whenever we request you to be with us, you oblige us. And this is a program which you would have sensed. It's a different kind of program, and the whole program we have divided into 4 segments. After this introductory segment, in the next segment, we'll request you to narrate your own life journey, though we know a lot about you. But then whole format is such a wherein if an illustrious personality is telling something about his work, his life, his career, then there are a lot of things with all your experience, with all your anecdotes, wherein there would be some points of interest, and there will be something which is inspirational, which anybody can feel inspired simply by listening that thing from you only. And then in the third segment, I will be having certain queries, and I will request you to elaborate on whatever you would have told us. And then the session will be open to the teachers and the students, and they can put up certain questions to you to know more about you and your work. So without delaying it further, Sunit Tandonji, I request you to please take it from here and narrate us your own life journey.
Thank you very much, Ambrish. I feel at a bit of a loss since you've already given such an exhaustive CV of mine. I don't know what to say beyond that. But since you want something of the life journey, what I want to say is that I started out as somebody who was quite good in academics. I was not bad at all. In school, I did science as my stream. But when I came to college, I decided I would switch to arts. And I started doing a BA in economics. I soon discovered I did not really vibe well with economics, but I persisted with it. And in the meantime, I discovered many things that I was interested in. And those things were, in order of appearance in my life, radio and television, which started simultaneously during my first year in college here in Delhi. I had done my schooling in Lucknow. And in those days, there was Yuvani, as you know, the channel on All India Radio, which encouraged people, students, kids, anybody above 15 to come and participate and present programs. So I started doing programs there. Then at the same time, I started doing programs on television because there was a youth forum there, and there were many other opportunities. I think the reason I got selected in these programs and cleared the auditions was because I was already interested in, speaking, public speaking, which I had been doing in my school days also, and that helped. So, but what happened was that I was really fascinated by both radio and television. Broadcasting became a passion for me. Later on, in my third year in college, I started doing theatre as well, which I had stayed away from earlier because I don't like the process of auditions much. And I didn't go for any of the auditions in my first 2 years, but then I started doing it, and I was successful in the sense that they wanted me to act in various plays, and immediately that also exploded. So suddenly, while I was still studying in college, I was doing both radio and television and theatre. Theatre particularly took off during my MA years. I did MA in history in Delhi University. And thereafter, I was selected for a banking job as a probationary officer in a leading bank. And I did take it up because I thought that's a good job. And everybody said it's a secure job for life, well paid, etc. But then I found that I didn't really care very much for it because it would take me all over the country and it would separate me from broadcasting and theatre and radio and television. All this would go by the wayside if I was not in Delhi. So I made a life decision. I said, no, whatever I do, I must stay in Delhi. Luckily, after a brief interregnum of a few months, I got a job in the National Film Development Corporation as deputy director, fairly senior position for somebody who's in his mid-20s. So that was something which I took up with great passion because during my college years, I'd also been exposed to very good cinema thanks to the Film Society movement. And there was a very active film society in Delhi University in those days called Celluloid. And because of that, I knew quite a few of the masters of Indian as well as international cinema, and I had seen their films. So I think when the interview for this post came up, I was one of the few candidates who could actually speak about, people like Truffaut and Godard and Bergman and so on and so forth, and also our Indian filmmakers like Ray and Sen and so on and so forth. So that got me selected. So you see, the interesting thing is all through my life, the various jobs I've held, I have been selected for them because of my passions, which are not necessarily the academic aspect of my existence. So the job in the NFDC came courtesy the fact that I was interested in cinema. And similarly, later on in life, I found because I was doing radio and television and doing film festivals and so on, and I was doing a government job which required management, after all, at the end of the day. That's one of the reasons why my television experience came in use when suddenly they needed somebody to help start the Lok Sabha TV channel. I had ample television experience in front of the camera. I had managerial experience in the National Film Development Corporation, not of a channel. But then the two could be married, and I was taken on deputation to the Lok Sabha Secretariat to do the help with the setting up of the Lok Sabha TV channel. And eventually I became the CEO. In the meantime, what happened was that they were looking for a DG for the IIMC. And again, because I had radio and television experience, apart from experience within the film sector in the Information and Broadcasting Ministry setup, I think, again, it was a very good fit. And I had already been I was already at that time head of the Lok Sabha TV channel, the CEO. So I was selected as DG of IIMC. And all of this experience has also helped in the fact that I had experience in running an institution like IIMC, helped me in being where I am now, which is in the India Habitat Center, which also has a very strong cultural component. We are, I think, probably the most active cultural center in Delhi and one of the most active in the country. So the only lesson I would like to sort of perhaps draw from my own life is that I have never planned anything, any move, or wanted any particular position in my life. I have never worked towards it. I have just been ruled by what I felt I wanted to do. My passions for broadcasting, for radio and television, for film, and for theater have actually helped me and got me where I am. So the only lesson, perhaps, as I said earlier, is that please follow your passions. You don't know where they lead you. You just don't know. I could never have imagined that I would have been in all those positions that you have reeled off in the introduction to this particular session. I think that should be enough for this particular segment, and perhaps now we should just move on to the interactive segment.
Thank you, Sunitji. One thing with which I would like to start with whatever you told us, since we are an educational institution and we are in a way this media institution which I am heading, and all the students and teachers, they are from journalism and mass communication education background.
Yes.
So since you were there for long in Indian Institute of Mass Communication, so if you can elaborate something more as far as media education is concerned, and if we look at the connect between media education and the industry, since you have been deep inside into the industry, what do you feel? What all should be they are learned by these young students to have the befitting positions in the industry? If you can tell us something about that.
Whatever little I've gathered in the course of my career, including the segment in 6 years in which I was heading the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, I think, the basic thing about media is that you have to be passionate about it. If you are passionate, you will go places without any doubt. I would urge everybody here who's taken, and I always used to do that in IMC as well, that if you want to take up media, don't look to go for fame or for money. Look to work well and to follow your passions, and you will eventually rise because of that. And money and fame may or may not come. But if they come at all, they'll come because you are passionate about what you do, and you do your work well, and you do it with your full integrity and full commitment. These are very, very important to take you in anywhere in any sphere in life. And I think that holds true for media education as well. You'll get a very good grounding in a place like DME or in IIMC or various other institutions for media education which are there in our country. We are lucky that we are in a time when there are so many institutions, because when I was first interested in radio and television, I think there was only practically IIMC and perhaps Jamia, and those were all at the postgraduate level. So there was nothing really you could do at the undergraduate level in media and communications, which now exists. These options exist. But I also feel that anybody who wants to go into media and communication should also have a good grounding in at least one subject. I always used to advise people who came to me, after school, what should we do? I said, don't worry about, if you want to go into media and communication, don't worry about opting for it right away. Please do a graduate degree, a bachelor's in any subject which is of interest to you, which you feel some aptitude for. And then after that, it's good to go into media and communication at the postgraduate level. But of course, nowadays people start at the undergraduate level as well, which is fair enough. But then you must supplement it by getting the ability to analyze and to work deeply in various subjects. Often what happens is when you're into media and communication and journalism, you tend to be a little superficial in your approach to any particular subject. That is not going to be helpful in the long run. You must have the ability to go into depth into any particular subject that you might have to be entrusted with. Either it's because you're covering a story, or you're working on it, or you're interviewing somebody in that particular field. You must have the ability to actually do your work, your background work well, so that you can actually understand what is going on and then project for the lay listener or viewer or reader what is required in a much better, rounded and comprehensive way. So that is, I think, something which is very important in media and journalism and communication education.
Yes, sir. I would also like to know more about your involvement in theatre, because we all watch stage plays and all. But how did you approach to theatre with regard to your involvement, one, and two, since you are mainly an actor in theatre, you're focusing more on your acting. So acting wise, which school you belong to, what actually are your thoughts with regard to acting or theatre?
It's a very tricky question to answer, because I was just 2 days ago, I was invited at the National School of Drama to talk to the third year students on similar lines. And what I said was that I got into theatre by accident. And my first venture into theatre in my third year in college, I discovered that I did have some aptitude for it, which I didn't know about earlier. And I really enjoyed the process of rehearsing and, developing a character, acting, memorizing your lines, memorizing moves, trying to build your character in a holistic way. So I would say that if you ask for schools of acting, there are, of course, many, but at the end of the day, you are trying to project a truth. And you are trying to project whatever character you are projecting, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter, in an empathetic manner. You have to be empathetic with whichever character you're playing, whether it's a villain or a hero or a shades of gray. You have to be able to project all of that with empathy so that people understand what you're trying to project and empathize with you. So I would say that my training in theatre was actually a pretty classical education, in the sense that the people I worked with, the directors I worked with earlier, were all trained in the old proscenium theatre classical tradition. So I got a very good grounding in those aspects. And then you learn to adapt. I mean, as and when, because, film acting is completely different. And I must say that I'm still a learner there, and I'm learning to adapt, because for all the years I was with the National Film Development Corporation, I refused to do any films because I said it's a clash of interest. But after I left the NFDC, when I was approached and people asked me nicely to do something, I said, fine, why not? And I did a few film roles. So, and that was very interesting, because you have to adapt your technique. The technique you learn in theatre is very different from what you have to do before the camera. It's completely different. But what you have learned in theatre also comes in use while you're doing film acting. So I would say the schools are more to do with the techniques of approaching the truth of a character, and they all eventually arrive at the same destination. So which technique you use to arrive at that destination sometimes is not so important as the fact that your end result should reflect the truth of that character. That is what. And you're saying that I'm more interested in acting. Well, actually, that's force of circumstance, because I find it easier to take time off, in the evenings to do rehearsals for plays. I don't have that much time, because I've always had a full-time job. I even now I do a full-time daytime job, which does not give me that much space to direct. I enjoy direction very much indeed. And I have done at least 25, 30 plays as a director, and 3 Western classical opera productions also as a stage director. But that requires more commitment of time than I can afford. So I always tailor what I can do, what I am doing, to the time I have available to spare for it. Even that is a lot, because if you consistently act in theatre, which I do, I've tried to do it always. What I decided long ago was that I will keep on doing radio, television, and theatre till the time that people ask me to do it. They're still asking me to do theatre, radio and television. Sometimes I'm called radio by AIR to do some recording or the other. I do it always. Television, if they ask me, the last time they asked me was a few years ago. They haven't asked me recently, but when they asked me, I always said yes. So with theatre, you need to take a lot of time out for it, and you have to structure it along with your other official responsibilities. But you find the time. You say, okay, I can only rehearse from 6:30 to 8:30 or 9 every day. Then you go every day. I mean, you have to give that commitment. You can't back out of it. There are no shortcuts.
But as an actor, when you are acting in theater, since it has a pretty long period that you have been on theater, and then thereafter in film. So as an actor, when you are acting, where you feel more contented on theater or in films?
Oh, these are entirely different things. I mean, theater, of course, is fantastic. I mean, I loved it because in the first stage, because you get such a buzz from doing a live performance in front of a live audience and feeling the feedback you get from the audience. That's a particular high. You get it immediately. It's an immediate gratification. Film, now that I've done a few, it's very different. You're on a set with a lot of other crew, and you're just performing for the camera, and you're performing little bits and pieces. You're not performing a whole arc as you do in theater. You perform for 1.5 hours or whatever, 2 hours. You complete the whole story from beginning to end in one go. Whereas in films, you just do little bits here and there. You do a little bit of rehearsal, perhaps, if there's time. Otherwise, you often don't even rehearse and go straight for the shot. And then you see the final result only after months and months, when some editor has sat down along with the director and edited the whole product. And then you see it, and you can then judge whether it was good or not, or whether you enjoy. But the process should be enjoyable. And that's why with film, the only ones I've accepted is where I was fairly certain I would be comfortable working, and those people were nice people. I would enjoy working with them. Otherwise, I'm not chasing it as a career where I work with any and sundry person. So, and that continues with theater. I mean, I work with people I like, people who approach me nicely. I need not know them, but I should feel that they're genuine people. And if they say genuinely that we want to do this and it seems like an interesting project, I just say yes immediately. And saying yes I don't know how to say no often. You yourself said I always say yes when you ask me. I say yes. I think one of the great philosophical attitudes in life is to keep saying yes to anything that comes up. You may not do well, you may not succeed in that particular attempt, but you say yes to the next one, and you might feel, and you don't know where it leads you. You don't know where saying yes can lead you. And that is what really guides your destiny and your life path, if you keep saying yes. And
that's your great quality. In fact, when you always say yes, and that's motivating to a lot of young people, because when you grow up and when you create a space for yourself, it's also, I also put it on myself, it's your responsibility to do something for the younger generations also, so that they can fill the space that's finally is vacated by us.
Yes, of course. I'll be vacating my space fairly soon, I think.
No. This applies on all of us. One day we have to vacate that space. Yeah. So one more thing I would like to ask about your creative interest, that's music. And you have done a lot in the field of music, we know. But we would like to know from you only more about this. How did you get involved in music, and what all you do on the front of music?
This is very interesting, because in music, I'm not a practitioner at all. I'm only a passive listener and somebody who likes it and appreciates it and wants to encourage it. And the particular stream of music I've chosen also very esoteric in India, in the sense that I think I must have been 10, 12 years old when I first got attracted to Western classical music. I used to like all music. I still like all music, but particularly interested in Western classical, because there was just 2 records lying at home, which my father had brought from England a long time ago, and which nobody used to listen to very often. And then I started listening to them when I was 10 or 12 years old, and I suddenly discovered that I really, really, really liked them. So it just developed from that. I started reading up about it. In those days, there was no internet, there was nothing. And even to get the music was difficult, because you had to go and buy LP records, which weren't easily available for Western classical, certainly not in India. And you had to listen to the radio also, only a little bit on shortwave. You could hear BBC or something. So, but because of that deep interest, I used to find ways to learn about music, to hear more music, and to read about books about music, look for them in libraries, look for them anywhere else, and magazines also. And then eventually, seeing my interest, my parents said, but you should learn something also. I said, no, I don't want to learn. But they said, no, you learn. You want a piano? If you want a piano at home, you will have to take lessons. So I took lessons for a few years on piano, and I learned music a little bit also. But of course, I was, I started too late. If you really want to be a serious practitioner in Western classical or any classical music, you have to start very young. You must start by the age of 5, 7, 8 or something like that. Later than that, you're not going to be a serious player in the field. So I started at about 12 years or something like that, or 13 years or something. So, but it helped me a lot, because learning also, then you get to know what the music is really about, how to read music, what are its complexities, and that deepens your appreciation of the field. So after that, I was just very interested in doing music programs on All India Radio, Western classical particularly. I did a lot of pop music programs also. And those are the ones that were popular. But I wanted to do All India Radio primarily so that I could do some classical music programs as well, which I did. And then there were these music appreciation lectures and all. I started doing that even while I was in college. I did 1 or 2 music appreciation sessions, playing symphonies by Beethoven or Brahms or Mozart, and, talking about them to my fellow college students, trying to get them interested in this music. I was not often very successful, I must say, but nonetheless, I persisted. Then I started giving lectures and so on, lecture demos, the kind of thing to increase appreciation of music and of opera and so on. And eventually, somehow or the other, because I took interest in the Delhi Music Society, I was made a member of it. And then they themselves said, please become president, although there were people much older and much more experienced there. So yes, I'm looking after that. We run this Delhi School of Music, which teaches Western music, and it's a non-for-profit society. So it's a wonderful school in Chanakyapuri. In a small way, we are doing what we can to spread musical culture.
So you have been wearing so many hats, and you have been able to maintain the kind of balance which is really, really difficult for anybody to pursue so many things at the same time. And as you said that you have never chosen the way the things have been happening, and you have been moving with the flow. But if one day you have that choice, that you need to decide that this is one final thing I would like to take up in my career, what would be that one thing?
Amrish ji, given my career path so far, my entire career path has been guided by wanting to do it all and not to choose one. So I don't think I'm in a position to choose one. My whole philosophy of life has been that I must get different parts of your personality are satisfied by different aspects of what you do. Yeah. So I will feel incomplete if I have to give up any of these things. So, I don't want to be incomplete. I don't want to give up anything. I enjoy doing all of these things, and that is what has made me what I am, and that is what I really, really live for.
Yeah. I mean, that is the inspiration which I think anybody should have from your career path, from your passion that you have been pursuing. That till the time, whatever you are doing, that is giving you happiness, that is giving you enjoyment. Nothing can be more than that, in fact. And that applies on all of us. So from here, I will keep the floor open for the teachers and the students if they wish to ask anything. Sajal, would you like to ask something?
Yes, sir. I want to ask, you are really a versatile personality. So being that, how do you manage quality of your work?
I was about to say this, and you've asked absolutely the question that I wanted. When you're doing many things at the same time, there are 2 aspects which you have to always keep in mind. One is you have to decide which is the most important of those activities at any point of time. And the second is time management. These are essential. So now I decided that since my job, whichever I was doing at that time, whether in NFDC or at Lok Sabha TV or at IIMC or in the Directorate of Film Festivals, wherever it was, I said that would always get my primary attention. If there was a period in which I could not do radio and television and plays or anything like that, I would sacrifice the radio and television and plays for that period, right? Because I must, first of all, be absolutely committed to my job and making sure that whatever I have taken on, whether it's IIMC or Lok Sabha TV, that must be done to the hilt and properly with commitment. Then you manage your time effectively, because you can do all that, and then you still have 2 or 3 or 4 hours in a day which you have spare. So those 2 or 3 or 4 hours in a day I would devote to radio, television, theatre. So you have to maintain you have to be very clear about your scheduling as to when you're going for a rehearsal, when you're going for a live broadcast, when you're going for, and you have to work around your schedule, around your main job, right? And each of those things you have to insist that you do with full commitment, so that when I'm in rehearsal, that I'm not what I am. I'm not the DG of IMC. I'm not the CEO of Lok Sabha. I'm just the actor, and there's a director, and that director is the person who's boss. Okay, you have to have your priorities clear at every point of time. So when I'm in rehearsal, then I'm 100% there for the rehearsal. When I'm in my office, I'm 100% there for my office, whichever office it is. And when I'm in the radio or television or on a film set, I'm 100% at that time for that. But the overall management of how much time you devote to each thing, that you have to also keep in balance. That is very important.
Yeah, and this is something which younger generation should definitely learn, how to manage the time. It's the most difficult thing that anybody needs to handle.
It's not difficult. It's not difficult. Let me give you a small tip. Start putting down everything, every one of your commitments on a calendar. Google Calendar is very useful now. I mean, I've been using it since it first arrived, I think since 2013 or something. That has helped my life considerably. Before that, I had to keep a diary and make notes in it. Now I just use Google Calendar. It's really very, very convenient. You slot your time slots over there and you just follow it.
Yeah, so that tip can be used by the young people, because they are more well versed with the present day technology as compared to us. Yeah, Sajal, who want to ask question now?
So my question is that how can we manage our professional life as well as our hobbies?
I just told you, slot them, make time, make sure that you manage your time well. Slot them on your calendar. You can use Outlook, you can use iOS calendar, whatever you use. Doesn't matter, but slot it carefully. Make sure you have enough time to, these are basics, huh? Make sure you have enough time to commute between, where is that place? If it's a recording that I have to go for, a recording studio or something, how far is it? How much time will I need to go there? How much time will I need to come back? Or what are the other things I'm doing that day? Can I say yes or no? Then it works out. Or can I ask them to change the time to something else? So for instance, I used to do a lot of voiceovers and things for films. I used to tell them straight off, please do it during lunchtime, because I can then take off from office, come, do the recording. It takes half an hour to do the recording, 20 minutes to go there, 20 minutes to come back. In 1 hour, I finish it and I'm back in office. And I do what I have to do. Rehearsals for plays, evenings. I say not before 6:30. 6:30 or 7, you keep your rehearsal. You're there till 9 or 9:30, then you go home. So, after office, you manage it. And again, always look at the venue and the commuting time, because that's very important. If it's something very far off, I just say no. I say, sorry, I can't make it. I don't have enough time to travel there and back.
Yeah, so moving forward, Ishika, you want to ask question?
Greetings, sir. Myself, Ishika Shah. And my question to you is, as media is changing every second, so to be a part of this evolving profession, what should we do to be benefiting in this arena and not to become outdated?
Yeah, that is a very pertinent question for you. But it's simple, I think. I don't think you need, if you're really engaged with any subject, if you're devoting your energies to it, staying up to date is not difficult, because you are active all the time in that field. You have friends and associates who are in that field. So whatever is developing, whatever is happening, you're following the news about that on social media or in newspapers or on television, whatever. You know what is happening. And your friends and your colleagues and your peers and your seniors are always there. So when you're interacting with people all the time and you're interested in a particular subject, you automatically start learning about new developments. And when the new developments come, you try and get yourself practiced in implementing them. If it's a new software that which has emerged or a new platform, you take it up and do it. It's an organic process which results actually from your interest and engagement with the subject. If you're interested, you're engaged, you will automatically become updated.
Okay, so moving on, I believe that the tips that you are giving to these students, I mean, these are really bright students of ours. They will keep that in mind and would try to perform better as compared to what they are doing presently. So moving on, Vinayak Yadav, ask your question.
Hello, sir. It has been great listening to you. So my question is, there is always a phase in life of a student when he has to come out of the nutshell and he has to face the real competition. How stressful that can be?
There are two aspects. Number one, I am not so competent to advise you because the way the media landscape was when I entered it was very different. We had only one channel at that time, which was Doordarshan. And the competition was actually amongst people who wanted to get onto Doordarshan. So there was thousands of people used to audition for Doordarshan, and you were really already amongst a very select few if you cleared the audition. So there was a different kind of competition, different kind of stress. Now it's more that you can get into the media, but you have competitors in other media streams and within your organization and so on. Stress is something which I feel, you have to somehow tune yourself to deal with it, in the sense that don't take it. Stress occurs if you take it. And of course, there are very many times in life when it is a very stressful situation. Whatever helps you, if counseling helps you, talking to friends helps you, please use that. If, on the other hand, you also slowly come to the philosophical realization that whatever you do in life, there will be stress, and it's up to you how badly you let it affect you. There will be times when something has immediately happened and you are very stressed out. Always remember that this can pass. It will pass. It'll be over. You won't be like this for the rest of your life. This is something which has happened, which is catastrophic and bad. But if you are able to convince yourself internally that ye bhi jayega, this too shall pass, you will be better able to cope with it, the stress that happens, and it will pass. Everything passes, yeah. Neither happiness, nor sorrow, nor joy, nor grief. Nothing lasts in life. Life itself does not last. Hang on. We are only here for a short while. So, जो कुछ भी इस समय हो रहा है, वो थोड़ी देर बाद नहीं होगा. ये तो असूल है जिंदगी का. So if you can help, these kind of thoughts can help you. But of course, when you're actually caught in a stressful situation, it is very good to please talk about it to relatives, friends, family, whatever. And that will help soothe it slowly. And also tell yourself at the back of your mind कि जो कुछ अभी हो रहा है, मुझे इतना stress हो रहा है, मैं इतना पागल हो रहा हूँ, ये भी ठंडा हो जाएगा. है ना? ठंडा तो हो ही जाएगा.
तो विनायक तुम्हें टिप मिल गया.
Forward.
जी जो कह रहा हूँ विनायक, तुम्हें टिप मिल गया. अब तुम्हें स्ट्रेस लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. सारी चीजें अच्छी होंगी जो करते जाओगे.
And some stress is also positive, huh?
Yeah.
Little bit of stress. I must do the stress that I've taken on this responsibility. Now I have to do it very well. I have to prove myself. That is also stress, but that is a positive stress on you to work a little harder, to put in that little extra effort to make sure that you do well. That stress is very useful also. So stress is not always negative. Stress can be positive as well. Okay, keep that in mind.
So is there anybody who want to ask questions? Simon, would you like to ask something?
Sir, right now I'm just so starstruck after seeing sir. I'm in a completely different zone. I'm completely starstruck. And after hearing sir, so it was just an honor and pleasure to hear sir and his experiences in life. So we as teacher, what would you suggest us to do? Like, what should be the balance? Students over here who are listening to us, you, me and ma'am, they feel theory is redundant.
They feel only practical experiences matter. Theories don't. Whatever we teach them, they feel that this is all redundant and this doesn't matter. It is just practical exposure which is important. So what message would you like to give them? There should be a balance between both, or is theory relevant when you go in the practical field? If through your mouth it comes out, maybe they'll believe us more.
No, as I said, theory is always very important. It is important to understand processes and how things work. Have a broad, I said that right at the beginning, you must understand the processes. You must be able to go deep into a subject. Practice is going to be guided by how much you know. You need both, 100%. You need both. And sometimes you may have to practice first. In my case, I've always been plunged into the practice before I've learned the theory. But, like in music, I was plunged into listening to music before I knew that. But then when I was made to learn the theory, that deepened my interest in music. I could never have got to that depth if I hadn't learned music theory also. Right? Similarly with journalism, I was plunged into it. With acting, I was plunged into it, and slowly while I was practicing it, because I wanted to improve, I needed to learn a little bit more of the theoretical aspect, the background, the historical aspect, all that. So that I had to do myself. So, but I did that work myself to learn the theoretical part. Here you're being given the theoretical part. So because you're given that before you're into the practice, you don't realize its relevance. If you were already doing practice, you would realize how relevant the theory part of it is to you. And you will find it later when you are getting into the practice. So it is best to combine theory and practice in education as far as possible. That's not always practically possible. And you can't really replicate the stress of and the actual situations of a working life in journalism or in media or whatever. But try and do as much of that as possible. But definitely everything in theory, even if you find it boring at this stage, if you pay attention to it, whatever you retain from it, you will only retain about 50% of it or 30% if you're lucky. Most of it you will forget over the years. But the point is, you will realize when you're in practice, अरे यार वो भी तो इसीलिए हमें वो ये कहते थे कि ऐसे सिखाया था in theory. You will realize then how important it is. So I would urge people who are being given the theory right now to also pay some degree of attention to it and try and retain as much as they can. It will come in definitely useful at some stage in your career. One other thing I will say, anything you learn in life, even if it's the most boring thing that you've had to learn because you were forced to learn it as part of your course or part of your school, it will always come in use later on. To me, to this day, the science I did in school is useful. I did economics for my BA, which I hated. I did not like the subject. But I was able to do the budget analysis programs on Doordarshan, the live program, only because I already had a grounding in economics. My other fellow anchors refused to do it when DD News because they said, we don't understand all this. So I said, मैं कर लूंगा, मेरे को क्या है? I've done economics. थोड़ा बहुत तो याद था, लगन से नहीं किया था economics. But जितना भी याद था, it came in useful. It came in very, very, very useful when I was doing live budget analysis programs. So, everything you learn in life comes in useful sometime or the other.
In fact, Suniti, you have made our task, the teacher's task, easy to make the students understand the importance of theory. And
no learning goes waste. Please, no learning goes waste. You will realize you're too young right now. You have too little experience. As you grow through life and as you experience, you will find, "Arey, wo wahan seekha tha. Arey, udhar tha." All of it will come in useful. Every single bit of it will make you what you are and what your special characteristics are, what special abilities you have, and you will find every bit you've learned useful eventually.
Exactly. In fact, we here in DME Media School try to create a blend of the two because with our experience in media education, we have also learned that if you are teaching theory as theory, then obviously it might be boring and the receptivity might be less. But if you link it with the practicals in such a manner that there is a fine blend is created, then obviously it will be interesting and it will be useful also.
Absolutely.
So with this, we move towards the end of this program. It was indeed a very lively session, very interesting session. And each one of us, all teachers and students, would definitely have learned something or the other. And if I'm asked to find what was the most important thing that was said by Sunit Tandonji is that one must have a passion, one must follow a passion, because once you are passionate about a particular thing, you will find ways and means to do that thing. And if that fine balance is created between your passion and your job, and if both are hand in hand, then obviously your performance will also improve, because whatever you are doing by heart. It's not that somebody is asking you or compelling you to do a certain thing. So I think that is the biggest takeaway of this session. I thank you really from my heart, Sunit Tandonji, to devote us so much time with us, with our students, and it is indeed a very fruitful session for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ambrish ji. Thank you, Sushmita ji. Thank you, Saima. Thank you, all the other students and all the people who participated in this. You have also stuck to your time, so that's wonderful. Now the slot of 4 o'clock in my calendar is filled, and now I have to move on to the next slot in my Google calendar.
I have also learned
in my office.
I have also learned looking a lot of things from you, so that is how I am trying to be meticulous that way. Last time also we tried to do that. So this time also we have been successfully doing.
You have been indeed. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thank
and all
you,
the best
sir.
to
Thank
all of
you.
you in DME, and all the best to all the students as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The first impression that comes to our mind about any college: tall buildings, big classrooms, large lobby areas, thick books, IT labs, assignments, class tests, and projects. Nothing besides that. Every hour, minute, second spent here help us carving and shaping our persona, cultivating innovative mindsets for the challenging world. Learning is a lifelong process. Sharing knowledge, inculcating values of life, spark the innovative horizons of mind. Fun and frolic is the nature of every nook and corner here. A daily dose of thrill we are sure to get here.